All right. Well, thanks for coming back to the Bigfoot Society podcast. I have Lisa Russell from Cryptid Comforts with me on the podcast, which is awesome. So nice to meet you, Lisa.
So nice to be here.
I'm so distracted by the amazing posters you have on your back wall. I
Yeah,
mean, if you're on the, yeah.
this is my craft room, so I put all
Oh,
of my,
cool.
fun cryptid stuff back here to you know, keep me happy while I craft.
I love it. So go ahead and tell a little bit about who who it is you are and what you do, Lisa. What is Cryptid
Okay.
Comforts?
I am Lisa Russell of Cryptid Comforts. I
Mm-hmm.
created the business. It's just me. Occasionally people help me out to be nice, but I'm the only actual person who creates the stuff. I specialize in making cryptid themed stuffed toys and some clay stuff, but stuffed toys is kind of my niche thing. And I do those. And let's hold one up. Doo, 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 doo. For those of you who got the visual on that,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're really gonna have to
so,
watch the YouTube version of this once I get it up. But yeah, that
yeah.
that was awesome.
So I make lots of stuffed toys, and then I take the pictures of those and do design work using the photos of those for like stickers and enamel keychain
Yeah,
or enamel pins, acrylic keychains and stuff like that. So all of my design work comes from my stuffies.
very cool,
Yeah.
very cool. You've got patches. You've got a few
I
patches too as
just
well, right?
started doing those. Yeah, I got an embroidery machine back in I think July and have been starting to do the patches. I just am working on some grafted
Mm,
monster ones right
nice.
now. Um, so yeah, I just started doing all of that. I just sent off a big order to the Mothman Museum, which
Oh
included a
man,
bunch of my new patches. So they'll have
so cool.
a few of those. They got the sheep squatch, one of the flatwoods monsters, and one of the Mothman. So
I love it. I love it.
yeah,
Um, well, so first off, so you make everything by hand then?
I do. So the embroidered
Wow.
patches, I have an embroidery machine, so I'm not
Mhm.
like hand embroidering each. That would be insane.
Yeah.
But I program the stitch design, and then and those are all also from photos of my stuffies. So
Mm.
each embroidery design, like I break it down on different photo programs. I have to put it through like three different photo programs to break it down to a level where I can then get it into a stitch pattern to make a design for the embroidery.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. So there's a lot of work that goes into this then, sounds like.
it is an interesting process. And probably if I was more like better at tech and, knew how to do stuff, it wouldn't be as hard. But I'm learning. I'm learning. I just got a 3D printer, and that's I tried to
I
print
saw
something
that.
yesterday. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
disaster. But a lot of people jumped in and offered to help me learn. And my father is actually going to be helping me too. He
Oh,
designed wheel
cool.
covers for his job way back, and now he's retired and has nothing better to do than help me. So
Wow.
he's getting himself the same 3D printer so that he can start working on
Oh,
design work and
smart.
printing
Okay.
stuff and help me learn
Okay.
that. Yeah.
That is cool.
So
That is cool.
it'll be fun to have a
Um,
little father daughter
oh
project,
yeah,
even though
totally. Yeah, I
he's
could
so
definitely
far
see
away.
what he's doing there. That's smart on his part. I'd do the
Yeah.
same thing with
Yeah. I'm
my kid.
excited.
Yeah. What do you think what's your most popular cryptid plushie that you sell? I'm kind of
Um,
curious on that.
Well, it kind of comes in waves. Like
Really?
lately, the Grafton Monster's been selling a
Hmm.
bunch. And I'm
Hmm.
not sure exactly what the popularity of the Grafton Monster sudden uptick, but
Okay.
I think it's also that my Grafton Monster is adorable.
It
He's
really
so
is super
soft and
squishy.
furry.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, but typically it was Bigfoot for a while, and
Mhm.
then it was Mothman, and then
Oh.
the Fresno Nightwalker.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, but now it seems like Grafton Monster's having his heyday. So, which he's one of the newer ones that I've started making. So
Okay.
it's really hard to gauge too because I keep adding more to what I do. When I first started this, it was just like Bigfoot, Yeti, Mothman,
Mm.
and now I'm building more and more. I have like 16 or 17 different ones that I do now.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's I didn't know it
So
was that many. That's awesome.
yeah, I do a
That is really
lot.
cool.
Yeah, quite a few different ones, and I've added a lot this year. Like what I had when I went on tour last year, I think I had 6 different ones, and so I
Mm.
definitely, because this year without having events, I've had nothing but
Yeah,
time.
totally. Exactly.
So
It's
yeah,
been
I've been
interesting. Yeah.
been building up my inventory and just kind of
Hmm.
creating new things all the time. And some things I try and create and decide it's a fail and never come back to it.
That's how you
So,
figure it out, right? I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
other things I just keep working on until I make it work. But the tassel worm, I made 2 and threw it out. I was like, nah, not into it, not feeling
Hmm.
it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a person that's has your stuff ever gotten in the hands of someone where you're like, oh, I can't believe this person has my plushie, or like you're just like, wow, blown away by it's like in a certain place or like anything like that?
Um, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's hard to know where they end up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I think Seth Breedlove might have one,
I'm sure
which is
he's got a
cool.
few. Yeah.
I've met him at a few events. And I'm trying to remember. I almost feel like Bob Gimlin might have one,
That
but
would
I'm
be
not.
amazing.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure if he might have had. I might have given him one of my clay things when I met him.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
to remember, but
Right.
yeah, I've met him at a couple events too. He's super cool, and yeah, I don't know.
That's awesome. So
I
you're
have
saying
met people later on, like in my
okay,
life, who are like, "Oh my god, I have your stuff," and I'm
really?
like, "That's cool."
Like how'd you
So,
get it?
well, yeah, they met me at another event or something,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
yeah, so that's pretty cool.
That's cool. So you can like, and you can get your stuff at different places. You were saying the Mothman Museum. So is that at different
Yeah.
places around the U.S. or primarily at the
Um,
Mothman Museum?
well, there are a few different companies that are selling some of my product.
Okay.
So the Mothman Museum definitely goes through quite a bit of my stuff, which I love.
Yeah.
Only get the West Virginia cryptids in their shop from me,
Makes
and
sense.
most of it's Mothman stuff. But they
Okay.
do a little bit of Flatwoods Monster, a little Grafton Monster on this last order that'll be coming in the next few days, and a little bit of Sheep Squatch stuff. So I'm branching
Mm.
out, getting a little more stuff. But yeah, so they just ordered a huge order that I shipped out today. Was it today or yesterday? Today.
Mm.
So no,
That's
yesterday.
awesome.
Yeah. So that should be showing up in about 4 days in the museum if you're wanting to go to the Mothman Museum and buy my stuff.
That's right. So by the
Another
time you hear this, you can get them. Totally.
Yeah, another place is an online shop called Sasquatch the Legend. They
Okay.
sell some of my stuff. And then there's this new company that I'm really excited about. It's Thought, I want to say it's 253. That those might be the wrong numbers. Thought
Mm.
253, I believe, is
Okay.
the name of the company.
Okay.
You can find it on my Instagram. I posted about it.
Yeah,
But
totally.
they're this new company that just came up this past month. And the idea behind it is you don't know what you're buying for someone because it's the thought that
Oh.
counts. So you
Mm.
answer a few questions, and
Okay.
then you set a price range, answer some questions about the recipient, and then they choose a gift. And all of the vendors that participate are Washington residents. So
Okay.
we all live in the state of Washington. And it's just a pretty cool little way to do some shopping if you don't
That's
want to
awesome.
have to stress over thinking what should I get this
Yeah.
person. It's an easy solution, so I'm
I
really
love it.
excited about working with them. I think that's going to be cool.
Very cool. Very cool. I love that. So so you are in is it Eastern Washington or you're in the state of
Yeah,
Washington? Yeah.
yeah, I'm in Eastern Washington in a teeny tiny little town called Waitsburg.
Nice. Nice. Isn't it more like what so I've been to Seattle. I know that Eastern
Right.
Washington is different than
Oh yeah.
your Western Washington, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Although it's funny because us city folk have taken over Waitsburg. Nah.
Mm,
It's funny because a lot of the people that I know here lived in Seattle. I
okay.
lived in Seattle for a while. I actually met my boyfriend when I lived in Seattle, like
Okay.
13 years ago.
Oh wow.
And then I lived in Portland for a long time. And
Mm,
now I live in this teeny tiny town that has like less than 2,000 people. So it's a big,
wow.
big difference. Yeah.
Mm. That's incredible. Yeah, I grew up in a town in Massachusetts with about 3,000 people. I know
Oh,
exactly what you
yeah.
mean. Like it's that
Yeah.
small
It's weird.
town Gilmore, well,
Eh,
in New England it'd be like Gilmore Girls, probably not in
right.
Washington State, but you know what I mean. Like it's small
Mm.
town. Yeah, that's
Okay.
cool.
So the town right next to us is called Dixie, if that tells you anything about the area where I live.
I gotcha.
Um,
I gotcha.
I was actually talking to Cliff from Finding Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, totally.
You
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that Cliff, and I mentioned
I know
moving to
Cliff.
Waitsburg. It was like right before I was moving here, and I mentioned that I was moving to Waitsburg, and he's like, "That's
Hmm.
next to Dixie, right?" And I was like, "How the hell do you know Dixie?" And apparently, there had been Bigfoot sightings
I
near
was just gonna
Dixie.
say, yeah. If Cliff knows
So
about it, it's probably Bigfoot land.
exactly. So I was like, "Really, of all the places to know, you know Dixie."
That's awesome.
Like Dixie's smaller than Waitsburg.
This is crazy. So have you seen like anything weird out there then or
I haven't, but I also haven't really gotten an opportunity to do much
Mhm.
hiking since I got out here.
Okay.
So, I mean, most of the trails have been closed most of this year, and
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Yep.
yeah.
Totally, totally. So let's talk about you had a time in Portland and you mentioned something in a message to me that I thought was very just gonna have you tell you what it is, or you tell me what it is because I don't have to read it. So
Oh,
go ahead.
okay. So, yeah, I lived in Portland for a very long time, and I used to, well, I guess I kind of still do. I teach for a summer discovery program at the Portland
Okay.
Jewish Academy.
Hmm.
And the program's amazing. And the great thing about it is teachers get to create their own curriculum and come up with whatever
Mm,
classes they want. I mean, sometimes
okay.
classes are assigned, but I always made up my own. But my most popular class that I did there was a cryptozoology class for kids
I love it.
uh, called Unicorns, Dragons, and Bigfoots. Oh my. And it got so popular that I actually started a second class called Krakens, Mermaids, and Sea Monsters. Oh my.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, so the kids are really into their cryptids there, and we've had a lot of fun in those classes. We I tell them stories, and then we make projects based on whatever cryptid we're talking about that day. Most days we try to cover at least two cryptids, but I like going into the history. Like that's how it started. I went into the history of like unicorns and talk about the elasmostherium and how that's the actual
Wow.
real unicorn, and the fact that unicorns are mentioned in the King James version of the Bible and all kinds of weird stuff like that. I One year I got to have a guest speaker come in and tell them about his encounter with Bigfoot, which was
Wow.
really cool. And I mean, to have a group of small children sit so quiet, so
Hmm.
still for an hour listening to someone talk is amazing. That has never happened before. And they were all thoroughly invested in what he had to say, which was really cool. So, yeah,
I
we
love
have a
that.
lot of fun with it.
So you have a whole curriculum, like you've made a curriculum then.
Oh, yeah, and I change it every year that I've done the class. So I did the class 3 or 4 years in a row. And yeah, I changed the curriculum every year. So I mean, some years, like, we always, because the name of it is Unicorns, Dragons, and Bigfoots, we always talk about those
Hmm.
three specifically, but then i
Sure.
i switch it up and talk about other cryptids each year. So the first year we did it, we talked about jackalopes and Mothman,
Oh
and
man, I love it.
uh
Wow.
then I've talked about Fresno Nightwalkers and showed them the weird videos, and we made stuffies, and we've talked about like
Oh my
wampus
goodness.
cats and all kinds of weird creatures. And yeah, I bring in books, and the kids will explore and pick things out of the book that they want to talk about, and yeah, it's fun.
I love it. I have this weird entrepreneur side, so my mind is always thinking about like stuff like. So, do you know there's a website called teacherspayteachers.com where you can like
Yes, and
submit your
actually,
curriculum. Do you have
I
stuff
have
up
some
there?
items on there. I
Yes,
do. I
good,
have
good. I'm
like
so glad you do.
cryptozoology word searches and stuff on
Yes.
there.
Oh man, I'm looking into that for my kid. I
Well,
love
I'll
it.
just send them to you. I can send
All
you
right.
the word searches.
That's
You don't have
cool.
to pay the dollar for them.
I appreciate that. But I'm glad that you're doing that. That's a super smart move. Um,
Yeah.
man. Oh, speaking of Portland, so um I believe it was you that I saw this on your feed, the crypto zoo in Portland.
Yes.
Holy
Oh God, that was
mackerel.
so cool. So there's this
Yeah.
local artist in Portland, and he just sets all this up in his yard.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's really cool. Like I made the trip out to Portland. It's only like a 4.5 hours drive from where
Okay.
I live to Portland. So I drove out there just to see the crypto zoo
Totally.
because I was following him on Instagram and I'm like, of course this would happen after I move away. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I got to go out there and I actually I keep in touch with one of my former students from that cryptid class and I told
Oh
her
wow.
about it. So I hope she got out to go see it too.
Totally.
Um, but yeah, I got to go and enjoy it. Unfortunately, I was a little pressed for time when I went, but I got a chance to talk to the artist, and he's amazing. And just
Mike
they
Mike
were
Bennett.
so Mike Bennett, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
they were so cool. I
Mm.
mean, he really loves what he's doing, and it
So cool.
shows.
Yeah.
And it's
You
just a
can really
great
tell.
thing.
Yeah.
I had read that they're turning it into a permanent exhibit in Portland at oh
Oh,
gosh, I
cool.
don't remember where, but I think like somewhere downtown at one of the parks, they're doing like a permanent exhibit of
That's
it.
awesome.
So yeah, hopefully everyone will get a chance to go see it because it's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. We went to Portland once for a week about, oh man, what was it, like 5 years ago? No, 5 or 6. And man, yeah, we fell in love with it. I know it's expensive out there, but it's beautiful.
It's changed a lot.
Okay.
It's not what it was then. It's
Really?
not. It's gotten bad.
Seriously?
I
Since
mean,
5 years ago?
oh yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
no.
I mean, not only
Oh
has
no.
traffic increased significantly, like it would take me 15 minutes to get to work in the morning and an hour and a half
Mm.
to get home in the evening.
Whoa.
That's how bad traffic had gotten. And then
Wow.
you've got the homeless population that's just everywhere now. I mean, there are homeless camps
Okay.
literally covering the city. Um,
Okay.
Trash everywhere.
Oh man.
It's gotten kind
Yeah.
of bad. Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean that's not even talking about the riots that are going on all the time now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's a
rough.
crazy world. Thank goodness we have squishy cryptids to, just
Yeah,
like
I'm
squish the
definitely
cryptid and
I'm
keep
glad to
on
be in a
going.
small town this year for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I live in Iowa. It's pretty nice
Yeah.
to live in Iowa right now. Well, except for the fact that we're out of control with COVID, but besides
Well,
that, it's
yeah, you got to
okay.
stay in and if you go out, wear
Yeah.
a mask, stay away from everyone.
Yep.
It's the
But
same everywhere right now. It's
oh, I
getting
know.
worse
I know.
every day.
Yep. So question for you. Have you always been into cryptids then, or how did this love start for
Well,
cryptids?
that's a great question. So it actually all started with the class that I was teaching at the J, and
Ah,
it began actually somewhat. So I'm a unicorn girl, always have
okay.
been. You know, the kind of girl who will prance around in a unicorn horn just for the hell of it.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm that girl, and so I had one of my. I was working at the coffee shop in the same building as the school.
Okay.
At the Jewish center, and I one of my regular customers who knew that I also was teaching suggested that I teach a class about unicorns, and I was like, "Mm, that seems like okay, unicorns are great and all, but a full class about unicorns, which later another teacher did. Whatever, she stole my shit, but I don't care. It's cool. It's cool.
No.
It's cool.
You can't
Now
do
she
that when
was
you know the
she,
teacher, just when
she
you're
was
going to the
but she
website,
was
right?
teaching the little bitty kids, and I don't teach the
Oh,
little bitty kids,
well,
so it was
still.
okay. I even gave her some of my supplies. It's
Oh,
all
that's
good.
nice of
But
you. That's
but
nice.
I thought a class just on unicorns wasn't really gonna grab a lot of other kids. It was going to kind of exclude just the unicorn kids. And
Okay.
so I didn't want that. So I wanted something more encompassing of all
Mm,
strangeness. And so I decided to go with unicorns, dragons, and Bigfoots. And then
so
I
cool.
started researching, the history of these things and what it is that, you know, makes these things so relevant today
Mm.
when clearly, I mean, especially like we're all, don't tell the kids, but we're all sure that unicorns don't really look like a horse with a horn on their head. It's not a thing.
Whoa. Really? Oh no.
I know. I'm going to go bold and
Okay.
say I
All right.
don't believe
Okay.
that that is a thing.
Okay.
so, um, however, I think the unicorns in history are the elasmostherium, as I mentioned before, which look more like, for those who don't know, like a big furry woolly mammoth rhino thing with a giant
Oh,
horn in
yeah,
the head.
totally. Yeah, yeah, I know
The
what you're talking about.
Siberian
Yeah.
unicorn is, but yeah, I think that that's what the unicorn actually was when,
Wow.
people talk about it. And I think it's like playing a game of telephone.
Hmm.
You tell someone
Mm-hmm.
something, and then as more and more people share it, it changes. And I think, you talk about, I saw this majestic beast that was truly remarkable and it had this
Right.
giant horn. And as things, you think, well, a majestic beast, you think more, a horse rather than a rhinoceros that's furry. Like, so
Exactly.
I can see how that may have over time evolved into what we now know. And I mean, with, Barnum and Bailey's making unicorns out of goats
Mm-hmm.
and crazy stuff.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that's
Man.
that's all very interesting. But
Wow.
yeah, so researching and learning things like this, which, the more I delved into things like that, the more I started getting into other cryptids and things like that. Like, I was familiar with Mothman,
Mm-hmm.
um, but not to the point I am now by any means. And so I started listening to podcasts, to
Okay.
learn about things,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
got hooked on this one podcast called the Hidden Creatures podcast, which I don't
Oh
think
yeah.
exists anymore. Edward Way.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Edward Way. I'll
Uh,
have to check that out.
yeah, it was years ago, and it
Okay.
seemed to just kind of stop. He was
Oh,
really
weird.
great, though. But if you go back and listen to the Mothman episode, my name is mentioned, just because I'm the one
Oh,
who
cool.
suggested that he do an episode on Mothman.
That's awesome.
So, so yeah, so I started listening to podcasts, learning more, and getting more and more into it. And that the first year I did that class also coincided with the first year of the Oregon Bigfoot Festival.
Mm,
So I signed up for that. I was like, cool, I'll be a
totally.
vendor there. Cause I was making stuff before cryptids. I started off making stock animals and actual like other animals.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a whole thing. So yeah, it all started many years before I got into cryptids, but the cryptid overtook everything in my life. And
As it
I
does.
started having more fun doing that. And for a while I was doing both. I was trying to run. So my old company was called In a Stitch,
Okay.
and so I'm sure out there in the internet somewhere, there's probably still evidence of In a Stitch existing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
and so I did that for years, and then once I started getting into the cryptids, it was, I want to say, 2017 when I came
Okay.
up with the name Cryptid Comforts.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was because I wanted to focus all of my energy on cryptid themed items, but I didn't want to limit myself to just sewing. I wanted to make all
Mm.
sorts of stuff. For a while, I was making bath products. I did bath bombs and bath salts and stuff
Oh, wow.
for a little bit, and candles. Like, I've done a lot of weird stuff, that because I just like to experiment and make stuff and craft and
That's
play
so cool.
around. And I mean, eventually, I kind of honed in on what I actually wanted to do and where my focus would be. And that just went back to the stuffies because that's my bread and butter. That's what I
That is
like the
very cool.
best.
That is very cool. So, were you making cryptid sock animals then for a while, or?
I did a couple Bigfoot sock animals.
Oh, man. Really?
Yeah, those are out in the world
Wow.
somewhere. I also did needle felting for a while, and I did some
Okay.
really cool needle felted Bigfoots. Um, yeah, those were kind of
Man.
cool.
I almost feel like I'm probably going to go on a tangent later tonight and try to find like pictures of is it like Bigfoot as a sock monkey? Is that what it is? Like I'm trying to picture it.
I mean, sort of. So I
Sort
used
of.
fur like around the face and did kind
Okay.
of a fur thing,
Okay.
but then the face on it. Yeah, my Bigfoots have evolved very much and changed a lot over the years
Mm,
of, and some of my cryptids stay the same forever and others evolve and change and
sure.
get better,
Sure.
hopefully better, not worse. um, yeah, so trying, I always try to make sure that I'm making them the best that I can. And the one thing that even though
Yep.
I know I can make a different version of Mothman that would be maybe even better than the one that I make, but I'm so stuck on the one that I make because I feel like that's kind of my staple. He's become my logo. And so I don't want to change him.
And I think that if you were to change him, there would be a few people that would say like, "Oh, don't change our Mothman." Like it's a very
Right.
unique take on it, and I really like it. Like it's cool.
And for
Cool
me, it
take.
was, totally going on just the descriptions. A big black
Mm,
creature with a giant wingspan with bright glowing red eyes. And
sure.
yet you see most of the Mothman with like antennas and stuff, and they're so cute like that. But that wasn't in the description, or at least none that I've seen with the antenna. But I really do
Mm.
like the way those look, and I think they're super cute. And other people are making Mothman stuffies that I'm like, oh, that's so much cuter than what I make. But
But not the same. Not the
not the
same.
same. And I mean, that's
Yeah.
awesome too, that I love looking
Yeah.
at what other creative people are doing,
Mm-hmm.
making these same items that I make, but they all look different and everyone has their own take. And it's really fun to see what other people do with it.
Totally. I agree. Have you noticed because Mothman has gotten extremely popular over the last few years, correct? Like, so I'm
I think a
pretty new
lot of
into
that
this
has to
space.
do
Yeah.
with, the video game
Oh, Fallout.
Fallout
Yeah, yeah. Good
76,
point. Good point.
which I've never played the game or
I
anything,
haven't
but I
either.
did notice, like, when I started hearing about that, like, it seemed like more and more kids were getting into it and
Mm,
stuff like that.
okay.
And I mean, meeting those people at the Mothman Festival last year who, had got into cryptids because of that game
That
was
is
kind of
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
And definitely the children who are into it now, I think a lot of them learned about it from the game. So, I mean, that game has certainly done great for, cryptid businesses all over the
Totally.
place. So,
Totally.
I mean, anything that adds to the popularity of cryptids is all right by me.
That's right. I agree totally.
Yeah.
Let's I had a Bigfoot question come into my head just for a
Okay.
few minutes. So, if you don't mind, so what are your thoughts on like when you think of like Bigfoot? Okay. So what are you thinking like what's your take on Bigfoot? What do you think?
What's my take on
And
Bigfoot?
there's
Well,
no judging on this podcast, like everything,
so
like all kinds.
I want Bigfoot to be real.
Okay.
And I mean, there seems to be a lot of evidence pointing towards that. I mean, there are so many different sightings. They're so
Mm,
similar that it seems like this has to be something that exists or existed at one point. My boyfriend has a take that they were a thing, but they don't exist anymore. They went
interesting.
extinct.
Okay.
Um, but and for me, and I know there's still a lot of skepticism about it, but the Patterson Gimlin film is still, to me, it's compelling,
It's so
and to
good.
hear Bob Gimlin talk about it,
Mm,
like, I don't doubt anything that he says. And so
okay.
if that was, a con, I don't think he was in on it by any means. I feel like, because
I heard
he
that.
seems to fully believe, and I mean, he was not in this world for a long time. Like he was like, nope, don't want anything to do with it. I'm out.
Mm,
And, he just in the past few years started like making appearances again. And
yep.
so I think the fact that, he was kind of shaken by it
Mm-hmm.
lends itself to being a little more real to me. But yeah, it's hard to say that that video is a fake, and I know a lot of people say it. I even heard Seth Breedlove say it on your podcast.
Whoa. That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite sound bites. so much. I was like, because it's really funny. This is gonna get self-referential for a bit, but it's really funny because I don't realize what he said at first, and then I'm like, wait, Seth, are you kidding me? Like, come on, dude. And then it's like, I would have
Oh,
loved to be in the back of the car when him and Mark are going back and forth and like, no, it's real, no,
right.
it's fake.
Well, and I mean, the bottom line is I don't know, and I I want all the cryptids to be real,
Oh
and
yeah, right.
but I
Yeah.
also like I was having this deep conversation with my sister recently about it, which my sister only knows what cryptids are because of me, which is hilarious. But so somehow we got into the discussion where we ultimately ended up deciding that all cryptids are aliens. But
Wow.
I don't
Could
know.
you imagine? I've never heard that take on it. That's cool. I like
I
it.
did have a guy once tell me at an event that he saw Bigfoot appear out of a floating orb.
I've heard that a few times from different people.
So
Yep.
I've heard some interesting theories, and I've met some very interesting people at Bigfoot events.
I bet. I can't wait until I can go to my first one. I really
Oh
can't wait.
man,
Man.
yeah, yeah. Some who are very nice and lovely, and others who I'm like, oh please back away,
You need a little
please
space.
walk
Yeah.
along, walk along.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Intense. Intense is a
Yeah, I've done
cool
some
way to say
really
it.
awful Bigfoot events and some really great ones too. So, but I mean, the cryptid event world is so fun. I
Ah,
love
yeah.
going to those events. And even like the worst event that I ever did,
Mm-hmm.
which was the
Uh,
East. No, I'm going to say it.
you're
It's
gonna say
the East
no.
Tennessee Bigfoot Conference. It was horrible, but but it was also one of
You
the
heard it
best
here
events for
first.
people that I met because
Okay.
I got to meet two people who I am still like friends with because of that event, and Omi from Creep Geeks podcast and
Oh yeah.
Robin from Mystic Novelty Company. They were both
Yeah.
there and they were vendors, and
Yep.
I got to be friends with them, and that makes that event totally worth it. The event itself was awful, but the folks I get to meet at the events always make it worth it.
So in some ways you're saying it's probably the best event you've ever been to, maybe. Just
I
kidding.
wouldn't go that far. It was, I mean, it was bad. Like, I should not
Well,
be losing money on a Bigfoot event. Just saying. It was,
mm,
yeah, it was not,
okay.
not a good event. But because there were no customers or anybody at the event, we got plenty of time to talk to each other and get to know each other. So that was
And
fun.
it's all about like we have the Van Meter Visitor Festival about 20
I
minutes
know,
from
I
where
want to
I
go to that
yeah.
one.
And it's all about like the connections you make. Like
Oh,
my
yeah.
buddy Andrew and I, the first time we went and we like bump into the Steve Ward and we had no idea who he was. But
I don't
like
know who that is.
Steve Ward is kind of he's the high strangeness dude when it comes to Mothman, and like he's pretty
Oh,
involved with
okay.
the Mothman festival, but like he also comes out to
Oh,
our Van
okay.
Meter festival, a Van Meter
Cool.
visitor festival, and like so all of a sudden this guy just goes off for an hour and a half about Mothman. We're like, what is even happening? Like we love this. This is so good. But
Nice.
it's like the people you meet at these
Oh, yeah,
things are it's so cool. And
exactly.
it's a
And
place where like you can it's a safe place. You don't have to worry about like
mhm.
someone be like, "Oh, you're dumb for thinking this," and blah blah blah. Like
Exactly,
it's
we're all
cool, you know?
dorks, and it's
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Like,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that's what I
Yep.
love about those events is like-minded people who just are there to have fun and enjoy it, and
Totally.
you meet all sorts of cool people, and, yeah, I really love doing events just for that aspect of it, but also, making money aspect is good too.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is this your full time gig, Cryptid Comforts?
Sort of. So
Sort of.
I
Okay.
have I have a part-time job here in town. I actually work at a
Okay.
coffee shop, the coffee
Oh,
shop in town. And I work which is directly behind my house. Very convenient.
that's nice.
And they're awesome because they allow me the flexibility. Because when they hired me,
Mm.
they thought I was going to be on tour for, 2.5, 3 months,
Oh.
and that I was going to be gone pretty much every other weekend all year, which obviously none of that happened. But they thought it
Right.
was, and they hired me
Right.
knowing all of that because they fully support it. It's owned by an artist.
Awesome.
So they really respect that. And during all this COVID nonsense, they actually had all my stuffies hanging on the wall there for a couple
Wow.
months. And so we were selling my stuff there, which was great. And it went really well.
That is cool.
So yeah, they're really, really supportive of this business, and they understand that it's the priority.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
I I
Okay.
love that because most jobs would not.
No. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it I'm very fortunate to
Yeah.
have this as my part-time gig. And I was full-time there for a while, and I had to step back because I was getting orders and just busy and wanting to focus on this, and they totally were like, "Yeah, no problem."
That is
So,
so cool. Like
yeah.
good for them. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And we've been lucky. We've been able to stay somewhat open during all of this. So the state
Mm-hmm.
just shut everything down again. So there's no indoor
Mm,
dining.
yep. Yep.
So we went back to window service. So
Okay.
yeah, but we're making it work, and yeah,
I love
doing
it.
doing pretty good there.
So you're a barista then.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite drink to make or
I
anything like
like
that?
make I like experimenting.
Okay.
So I like having fun with drinks. One of the drinks that we have at the coffee shop that is fun to make though is Florida. It's
Hmm.
orange peel, vanilla syrup, soda water, and espresso.
Interesting.
It has kind of an explosive effect, and the faster you pour the espresso in, the more it foams up. It's a
That's
lot of
cool.
fun.
I love it.
It's like a science experiment. Yeah, it's good. Good
You
stuff.
should make cryptid themed drinks. That would be cool.
I have made
You have.
rainbow
Okay.
drinks
Oh,
before.
nice.
At my old coffee shop in Portland, I did a rainbow themed drink for a minute there as I was experimenting with things to make with my kids in my other class. I do a food based science class also, called
Oh, cool.
Play. What was it? Play with your food and eat your science. Yeah,
Nice. Oh, that's so cool, man.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
so
it.
that one, it was all food-based science experiments, and that was another popular class I
Oh,
did.
yeah. That is so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Man, oh,
I dropped my
cryptid. Oh, are you there? Oh, we're good.
Yeah, sorry, I
Cool.
dropped I bumped it and
The
getting
YouTube audience is like, oh, we're on a theme park ride. It's
there
great.
we go. All better.
Tell me about, so you mentioned that you go on cryptid tours. What are cryptid tours?
So because I live in the state of Washington,
Mm-hmm.
we have some Bigfoot events out here and stuff.
Yeah.
The Sasquatch Summit, the Oregon Bigfoot Festival.
Yeah.
There was another one on the coast last year that was a Cliff and Bobo thing. I can't remember what we called that one. I think it was like Bigfoot at the beach or something like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I
So I
remember hearing
did
about
that
that.
one,
Mm-hmm.
and then so I do a bunch out here. The International Bigfoot Conference and Film Festival in
Yep.
Kennewick.
Yep.
Russell Accord would be a great person for you to interview sometime too. He's really nice. Um,
Don't I know it? I'm just
but yeah.
I think I've asked, I think we might be going back and forth on that.
Oh,
I
okay.
think. So, but I agree with you. Yes, he would
Yeah.
be, and hopefully it will happen in the future.
Yeah. And I was bummed when he canceled that event in
Oh yeah.
2019. But so I was working, I had moved out to, Eastern Washington and started working in an after school program
Mm-hmm.
for the Boys and Girls Club and was miserable. I
Mm.
absolutely hated it, and I quit in the middle of the school year, which I
Oh
never thought
wow.
I would do.
Yeah.
So then I was kind of like, "Oh, what do I wanna do?" And I started scheduling trips back to Portland to work there, go back to PJA and teach,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'd sub in whenever I could be in town, and then I went back for the summer to teach, but then I started thinking about actually, okay, so here's how it originated, the
Okay.
tour.
Okay.
My boyfriend, who we've been together like almost 14 years now,
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
so it
Yeah.
seems weird even saying boyfriend. It's
Right.
something a little more than that, but so we've been together forever, and he was suggesting that this was last year. I guess it was in 2018 when we had this conversation,
Okay.
and he suggested that for our anniversary, we do a trip and go to the Mothman Festival.
Oh, what a guy.
And so, of course, my brain starts spinning, and I was like, well, if I'm going to the Mothman Festival, I want to be a vendor at the Mothman Festival.
Heck
And then
yes.
I was like, that's on the other side of the country, though. How do I make that work? And so then I started looking into it, and I was like, oh, I could totally do that. I can be a vendor
Mm.
at the Mothman Festival. And so I figured it out. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to be a vendor at the Mothman Festival, I might as well just stay out on that side of the country for a few months and do a lot of other events.
Wow.
So once I started seeing things like Cryptid Con and,
Mm.
different Bigfoot festivals and all this stuff like just like lining up, I was like, oh, okay. So I planned an entire tour. I did 6 events in 8 weeks, and
Oh,
Nashville, which
whoa.
is where my family is, was my home base. And so I would just travel from Nashville to events each
Hmm.
weekend. And my mom or my sister would come with me. So what started off as, my boyfriend's very sweet gesture of taking me to the Mothman Festival ended up me abandoning him on our anniversary and his birthday to go on
Wow. What a guy. What a
um,
guy.
yeah. So moral of the story, I'm a horrible girlfriend.
But he's still around. So
He's still around, and
still
he is
around.
very supportive of Cryptid
That's
Comforts.
awesome.
And but yeah, he tries to do something sweet, and all of a sudden I'm like, and then I made him work the Mothman Festival. So I was like, well, you can still come
Duh.
and we'll still make it our anniversary trip, but you gotta work my table.
Oh my goodness. What? That is so
And he
funny. That
hated
is so
it.
funny.
Yeah, he doesn't enjoy these things like I do. So
Yeah.
he was not having as much fun with it.
How funny is that? So cryptid tours are literally you plotting out different cryptid themed events that you could be a vendor at.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. And so this year I had more events lined up this year than I've ever had in the past. And
Oh
I had
man.
my tour was supposed to be 8 events in 10 weeks, my Southern tour. And then I had
Okay.
events every other week in,
Wow.
Washington or Oregon,
Mm.
pretty much all year round. And then, doing 3 months
Wow.
out there. Uh, and then everything got ruined,
Yeah,
and it's
and
been
then there were
heartbreaking.
other
Every
plans.
every event as they were coming in that they were canceled, like, I would
Yeah.
get so upset and I'd start crying,
Mm.
get all, like, worked up. I'm like, "No," and then I was like, as it was getting closer, I was like, "But it'll all be over hopefully, before my tour, so I'll still get to do that." And then as it became clear that this wasn't going away and they
No,
started
totally not.
canceling those
Totally
events, I
not.
was like, "All right."
Yep.
It's like once Mothman Festival called it, I was like, "Yep, tour's off."
But next year, Mothman Festival is going to be like a really big deal. One, because
If
people didn't go. Well, don't say if, don't jinx it. But because
no,
if, well, now I'm saying if, because people didn't go this year, but also it's a big
it's the
anniversary year
20
for it. It's
well,
the
yeah, it was supposed to be the 20th anniversary this
of the
year.
festival, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they had to put off the 20th anniversary.
Mm,
I mean, that would have been so
yeah.
perfect though, having the 20th anniversary in 2020.
That would have been nuts. Yeah,
Oh, it would have been awesome.
totally.
But
No,
yeah, hopefully in
you do what you can.
2021, and other cool events that I've already got planned for 2021
Yeah.
that I had planned for this year. So I'm branching out a little outside of just cryptid themed events and also doing a few
Okay.
horror themed events and things
Oh,
like
smart.
that. So
Okay.
branching out, it was actually recommended to me. I did Zombie Fest last year in
Zombie
Oneida,
Fest.
Tennessee.
Really?
That one, unfortunately, the weather took a weird turn, and it was an outdoor event, and it
Whoa.
froze the night before for the first like it went from 80 degrees to 40 overnight.
Oh, that sucks.
uh yeah, it definitely made the turnout not so good, but that
Mm,
event was so cool, like the live
really?
music, the costume contest. And so I met some really cool people while I was at that event too. And Blake Best, who he's a writer, he did this really cool book called Behind the Screams.
Okay.
And uh, so, yeah, I met him at that event, and he's the one who suggested that I do CreepyCon in Knoxville.
Ah.
And um, So I was like, interesting. Never really thought about my stuff at that kind of an event. And so I signed up for CreepyCon, which I was really excited about.
Nice.
And also excited to see, Blake and his wife Elisa again, because they were so cool. But so hopefully 2021. And also
That's right.
the Dark History and Horror Con in
Whoa.
Champaign, Illinois.
Oh, that's
Uh,
my neck of the woods. Kind of.
y-
Nice. Okay.
I have
Okay.
friends who live in Champaign, so I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
perfect. So yeah, I was going to do that one as well. So, and I was going to do the Flatwoods Monster Festival, and of course Mothman again. And
Mm-hmm.
there was the
Hmm.
Fowler, Indiana had an
Okay.
event. Yeah, I'm trying to remember now all the ones I signed up. Oh, the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblin one, the Kelly Little Green Men
Oh,
days. I was going to do
yes.
that.
Yes.
So, yeah, all those fun events that
Man,
actually, what's funny,
that
so the
sucks.
Kelly Hopkinsville Goblin one was actually the same weekend as CreepyCon. So I wasn't technically going to be at that event, but I was still going to do it. I was sending my sister and my niece to run
Smart.
my
Yep.
booth.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm trying to turn it into a family business.
I mean, hey, if you can do it, why not? Like that's
I
cool.
mean,
That is
yeah,
cool. Spread
when I
yourself out,
when
definitely.
I was in town, my mom was helping me like stuff things, and my sister tried to help me stuff things, but she couldn't get it right. She was either stuffing
Yeah.
them way too full or way less, and I was like, "All right, you're fired."
You
But
don't
I
want it to
did
be messed up. Yeah.
but she was great with sales, so I took her to an
There you
event,
go.
and she did great at the event. She went to the Bigfoot event in North Carolina, the Marion
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yep.
That
Yep.
was fun.
Yep.
So she went to that one with me and did a great job with sales. So sales are her strong point, not
So
making stuff.
for people that, let's say, they've never gotten to go to a cryptid theme festival, what are your like top 5 that are like you gotta go to these? Like these are
Well,
the best,
Mothman Festival, obviously,
obviously.
it's the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
It's where, people come in costumes and it's so exciting.
Totally.
There's just a lot going on that weekend, and it's the entire town is really involved in it, which is cool. Oh, shit. Hang on.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, my phone apparently has gone into low power mode.
Uh-oh.
Let me plug in real quick.
All right, I'll give you a few minutes.
Boo boo. I dropped it. Yeah, yep. Okay.
You're good. Awesome.
Nope. Crap. Hang on. Oh, now well, I guess I don't need my computer plugged in anymore. I'm not using it. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Awesome. Okay.
Hey, all right.
Cool.
Too many cords.
I know, right?
All right. What was I saying? Oh, 5 events.
Top 5.
Okay. Mothman,
Okay.
Cryptid Con.
Oh.
Cryptid Con was so much fun, and I got to be directly across from the Monsters Among Us, Cryptid
Yeah.
Crate, and Seth
Yeah.
Breedlove. So I was like,
Oh,
okay.
cool.
So and my mom went to me for that one, which was so nice having mom there. And yeah, I think mom was a little surprised and didn't know what she was getting herself into, and she's like, wow, these people really like what you're doing. I was like, yeah, we have this thing. It's a love of cryptids, and
How
yeah,
cool is it your
I know
mom
you
got
don't
to
get it,
see
but
that though,
oh yeah, and
like to see
she
how,
ended up having a lot of fun.
yeah.
She went to another event with me that was not as fun. That one was awful also. But anyway, so top 5 good ones though. Let's focus on
Let's not do top 5 bad ones.
No, we don't want to do
Yeah.
that. So yeah, okay. So Cryptid Con was number 2. The Oregon Bigfoot Festival, I've done that 3 years now, and I always have a lot of fun with that.
Okay.
The UFO Festival in McMinnville, Oregon.
I was just thinking of that. Yeah. I hear that one's awesome.
Is awesome. It was, although the time that I did it, I've only been able to do that one year, and a
Mhm.
horrible storm came through
Oh.
and started knocking everyone's booths over.
Oh, geez.
So we had to call it an early day, but it's so funny. Like the storm is coming through. We're all holding our tents down. So like I've got one corner of the tent, my friend Brandy's got the other corner, and we're holding it in place as, like stuff's getting wet and we're trying to cover things, and like everybody's running crazy and people are still coming up buying things. I was like,
That's awesome.
okay, I'm like, hold
Yeah.
my tent and I'll get your change. Okay. Sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, that event up until the storm was really cool though. And unfortunately at these events I'm stuck, behind my table and don't get to do all the fun activities.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But then okay, International Bigfoot Conference and Film Festival was really awesome.
Mhm.
And hopefully Russell will be able to get that together again. Um, and I mean, he had valid reason for canceling in 2019 and 2020. So
Sure.
I understand, he was making a TV show and stuff, and then a big virus. So it's not his
Yeah, it
fault.
makes sense that you would not be wanting to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that event was really nice and had a lot of fun with that one. And okay, so that's four. And then I guess my fifth would be the Zombie Fest in
Okay.
Oneida, Tennessee, even though, okay, so even though things went horribly awry the year I went and the weather was awful, and so our turnout wasn't as good, that event is so well put together.
Okay,
And
cool.
the music alone, the live band, the Spooky Ooze, which is a Knoxville band, they
Nice.
were rad. So, and the
That's
other
awesome.
vendors were fantastic. And so, yeah, I would say of the events I've been able to do so far, but I know I'm doing better events in the future. Well, maybe not better, but other
That's great.
events.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Good things are coming in the future. Like this has been a super fun chat. Thank you so much. Has there been anything that I should have asked you that I haven't asked you? Hmm.
Not that I can think of. Oh, something cool that's on the horizon, maybe
Okay.
for Cryptid Comforts. I'm in
Okay.
talks with MetaZoo Games about doing
Oh
some
yeah.
collaborative work with them.
Oh, okay,
So
cool.
we've just started talking about some things. I'm not even
Nice.
sure it'll
Nice.
happen, and I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be talking about it, but it's pretty cool and I'm pretty excited about every opportunity to do something cool with other cool people. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is awesome. So just let me know if I need to edit that
I, it'll be
out.
fine.
We'll be fine. Okay, we'll see.
They didn't tell me
Um,
not to tell anyone.
that's true. That's true. Running a podcast is so stressful. Like you have no idea because it's like, okay, I want to talk about cool stuff, but then it's like, am I gonna get like some person's gonna come to, be like, why did you let that in a podcast? And like, that's in a
Well,
TV show. You're not supposed to know what I mean? But
yeah. Well, I
you'll
don't
never
think they
know.
care
So
that I mentioned that I might be
nah,
doing something with them.
it'll be
I
fine.
mean,
Yeah.
it's not a for sure thing, but it's something maybe. Maybe.
You guys are friends. How about that? And
Sure.
sometimes things come out of friendships. You never know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so thank you for coming on. This has been
Thank you for
fun.
having me.
I'm sure that everyone that listens to this knows what Cryptid Comforts is, but let's go through.
I don't think they all do because I mean
Well, yeah.
I'm
But
not
how
I'm
can they
not like
find your
that
stuff?
popular.
You are.
There are so many ways to find my stuff.
I know.
The first way, the most popular way, would be the Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So I am at cryptid_comforts.
Yep.
And there, if you go into the profile, there's the little link tree thing, which gives you the
Mm,
list of everywhere else you can find me too. But I'll go
perfect.
ahead and tell you
Yes.
cryptidcomforts.com
Okay.
has all of my stuffies and lots of my other stuff. Although I do exclusive stuff on my Etsy. So you want
Oh,
to check out
really?
my Etsy too,
Okay.
because there are things on my Etsy that I don't put on cryptidcomforts.com, like all of my
Oh,
holiday stuff. Like I've got this really cool
okay.
Krampus stocking,
You do. It's
um,
awesome.
and my Krampus stuffies. Yeah, I only have 3 Krampus stuffies left for
Oh
the year.
shoot.
So yeah, Etsy definitely has some more seasonal things and some other fun stuff. It also does I do more like the Grafton Monster gift package there where you get
Mm-hmm.
a stuffy, a patch, and an enamel pin. I do that for the Grafton Monster, the Fresno Nightwalker, and Mothman. I have little gift packets that I do on Etsy with
Nice.
multiple items. So yeah, that has more exclusive stuff that changes more often, whereas
Okay.
Cryptid Comforts has, most of the regular stuff. I guess that makes sense. Um,
Nice.
and of course, there's always Facebook for those of you who are old like me who still use Facebook. Facebook.com/Cryptid Comforts.
Nice.
Um, Although, yeah, Instagram seems to be what's popular with the kids these days. So,
Forget that. TikTok is the way to go. You need
oh
to get
shit,
Cryptid Comforts on TikTok.
I keep
There's
thinking
always
about
something
that,
new, right?
but
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you the cryptic community on TikTok will blow your mind because it
Really?
is something that you have never experienced before.
Huh.
Like
Okay.
it's worth checking it out because
Okay, I will.
there's this there's this aesthetic thing called cryptid core, and it's like this whole like design thing based off of like cryptids and stuff. It's
Really?
wild. Like you got to check it out. I have a account on
Okay.
there, and like Mothman is a huge deal on TikTok, and
Okay.
like it gets wild. It's worth
So,
checking out if you
all
have
right,
some
I'll
time.
pull the trigger
Yeah,
on some
yeah,
TikTok
yeah, yeah. Why not?
when I get a spare second.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's a good
But
idea. All
yeah.
right, I'll do it. You talk
All
me
right, all
into
right.
it.
Cool. Well, I'll definitely put all those in the show notes, Lisa, so people can check that
Thank
out. And
you.
of course, they may hear about you in other ways as well. But thank you for coming on the podcast. This has been really fun.
Thanks for
Um,
having me.
you are going to stay on for a little bit longer, and you have a creepy,
Spooky
fun
story.
story, spooky story. So that
Yeah.
is always awesome. And that is something for the Bigfoot Society After Dark section of the Patreon. So if you want to hear that, you can help support the Patreon, the podcast for $5 a month, and you get access to that and a lot more.
What
But
a bargain.
it's a super bargain, almost as much a bargain as anything that Cryptid Comforts has. So check that out.
Nice
But
segue there.
thanks again for listening, listeners, and thank you again, Lisa, for coming on. And
Thank
we will
you.
see you next week, guys.